Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to spend some time with me on the video today. We are going to be talking about October bass fishing, and what I want to do in today's video is I want to talk about some of my favorite ways to catch bass in October. And I've been able to do this all over the country because, back up until about probably 15 years ago, the Bassmaster tournaments and the FLW tournaments we had a lot of tournaments in October in the fall time. You don't have that many now, but we used to fish in October a lot. And two of my Bassmaster wins came in October. And October is probably one of my favorite times to fish. I mean, it's the time of year where, it's a big transition. You start to have cooler water, cooler nights, and there's a lot of different things that are working. So we're going to go over that in today's video. Guys, also a quick reminder before we get started, I just want to let you know that Tackle Warehouse has got some really good fall fishing tackle sales right now going on. I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description to the tackle sale part that they have right now. If you guys want to check that out and get some good buys on tackle to stock up for that fall fishing, really appreciate you guys using that link. Okay guys, a lot of this, anytime we talk about these fishing videos on my channel here, when we're talking about like specific time of the year and techniques, you got to realize that it's a big country we have here, so everything is not going to apply to every single body of water that you have. But for the most part, I like to talk about sort of like typical man-made impoundments and river systems, because that's what most people fish, although we do throw some stuff out there for southern and northern waters occasionally. But what I want to talk about today is sort of a handful of my favorite ways to catch bass in the month of October. Now, a lot of this has to do with your water clarity that you're fishing and the type of cover that you have in the lakes. But there are some common threads that really work good in October anywhere that you go, depending upon those conditions that I talked about. So let's talk about first, different type of water clarities that you have in different type of lakes. So I like to classify my water clarities in like anything like less than 2 foot visibility, I consider stained water. And anything between like 2 foot to 3.5 foot is what I consider like average water clarity. And anything over 3.5 or 4 foot in clarity, I consider that to be a clear water lake. And based upon the lake that you have, as far as, those water clarities give you a really good indication of the best techniques that's going to be for that particular time on the water. So let's talk a little bit about all three, conditions here, what you want to use for it. Let's start out with the clear water environments first, and we'll go down to the stained water environments. There's two techniques that really, really work good for me in the month of October more than anything else if I'm in a clear water environment, and that is a spinnerbait and a topwater lure. Those are by far my two favorite techniques to catch bass on. The mood and the personality of the bass in Clearwater Lake is really conducive to that. So based upon the sunlight conditions and the light level conditions, that determines, if I'm going to throw a topwater or spinnerbait. Now, for the spinnerbait, guys, you've got to have wind and you've got to have low light conditions or shade. So, this is a really good technique right off the bat in the morning, especially if you got some wind, like 10 to 15 mile an hour wind. I like to get out there on those rocky points, rocky banks, and I burn a little spinnerbait just under the surface right off the bat. And if it's cloudy, you can do it all day long, but if it's a sunny day, it's going to work about as long as you have shade to fish it around. Now, if you don't have clouds and you don't have much wind, this can be a really good situation for a topwater lure in clear water. Sorry if I'm looking over there, guys. Elijah's trying to take the hose off the garden hose thing. He's having a problem with it. But when you have not much wind and clear water in the month of October, and you have water temperatures in the 60s or low 70s, great time of year to fish a topwater. Without a doubt, in October, probably my favorite topwater is a walking topwater like a Megabass Diamante or Spook, something like that. And this is the time of year where I'll fish a topwater all day long, even if it's sunny out. It's like, again, the mood and the personality of the fish will let them bite that thing all day long, especially on a calm day. If you have clear water and calm conditions, a topwater lure will pull a fish from a long distance away, even out of deeper water. I mean, they'll come out of 15 or 20 foot of water if the water's clear enough. So you can cover a lot of water with a topwater lure, and it's just one of the funnest ways that you're going to have. It's probably my funnest way to catch bass in the fall time of the year is topwater on a clear water lake. And it doesn't really matter. A lot of times you can catch them on bluffs, points, steep banks, flat banks. This is the time of year I just like to get out there and cover water with that. Just fish that walking topwater like at a medium fast pace across the surface. Now, as you get into more of a traditional, sort of the average water visibility of, say, again, about 2.5 to 3.5 feet, that opens up a lot more of a diversity of techniques. When I have that type of water clarity, guys, one of the favorite ways for me to catch them is flipping and pitching shallow targets. Jig is my favorite deal, usually some type of a full size, like my Blaukat throwback jig, brown, green, depending upon, the exact water visibility, but pitching that jig in and around shallow targets, docks, shallow grass, lay down trees, stumps, anything that you have. Fish really like a jig in the month of October. Both of those Bassmaster tournaments I won in October came on a big jig, a full-size jig. So remember that you just can't beat a jig for that water visibility of 2.5 to 3.5 feet. Another bait that works really good in those conditions is a buzzbait. A black buzzbait, a large black buzzbait, something like a 1/2 ounce or 3/4 ounce buzzer with a big blade on it. Same thing, covering water in that zone is a really good way to catch them. And it's good for crankbaits also. Square bill crankbaits can be good around whatever cover you have, rocky banks, clay banks, anything like that. That's probably what a lot of people have, but if you have a lake that does have 2.5 to 3.5 foot of visibility, guys, really focus on trying to catch them on a jig. And I normally like to fish that jig up in the upper creek part of the lake or the upper river section where those fish live shallower. It's not going to be as good if you try to fish that jig down the lake, even if you have that conducive water clarity. So big creeks, major creek arms, upper river part is going to be the best thing for that. Now, for the type of water where you got stained water, when you got your water visibility of like less than 1.5 feet or so, that there's not a lot of water around like that, but there's going to be more of a limited amount of techniques that are going to work in that situation. Spinnerbait, jig, shallow running crankbait, it's going to be your deal. Shallow water targets, shallow rock, shallow wood, normally something like a 1/2 ounce black and blue jig or a little bit larger bladed spinnerbait, maybe even a Colorado bladed spinnerbait, and some type of a square bill crankbait can be really good. But those are my 3 favorite ways to fish in October, guys. If you have the choice though, and you do have water that's set up like that, try to find the clearest water in the lake that you fish and throw that little spinnerbait and the walking topwater. 2 baits, I'll link them in the description of the video, guys. That Megabass SV3 spinnerbait is the perfect ripping spinnerbait, and then just whatever walking topwater you have. Like I said, I like that Hidden Super Spook a lot, the Megabass Diamante, whatever your favorite walking topwater is. Another thing about that walking topwater in October, guys, they like a black one. So try the black walking topwater, and just some ways I've caught a lot of fish that time of year. So hope it helps out. See you.